my dear students of 4th primary, how are you? In the previous lesson, we learned about a new term, the benchmark fraction. We also learned how to generate or make fractions equivalent to benchmark fractions. Today, النهارده في lesson 12, half or whole, we will learn هنتعلم how to compare fractions to a benchmark fraction. Let's first use what we know about comparing fractions to help عشان نساعد one of our friends to do this. We will use the error analysis table under access part page 40. تعالوا كده نشوفها مع بعض. And here in the access part, as you see here, okay, the student here, الstudent كان مطلوب منه to compare 3/12 to 3/8 and circle the fraction that is closer to 1. هيعمل circle على أقرب fraction ل 1. طيب الstudent قال إن 3/12 closer to 1. And now I'll give you time to think وعايزاكم تحددوا what the student do correctly، ايه الحاجة اللي هو عملها صح وايه الحاجة اللي عملها غلط، وكمان نحل البروبلم in the table. You can write your answers in your school book. And now after you have finished, تعالوا بقى let's discuss your answers all together. The student noticed that both the denominators were the same. هو قال إن denominators الاتنين are the same. يبقى هنكتب في first column in the error analysis table we can write in the student understood the both denominators are the same. يبقى هكتب هنا he said that the denominators are the same. أخد باله إن denominators are the same. لو بصينا كده هنلاقي two denominators are 3. Okay, طيب what about the denominators? The denominators in the two fractions 8 و 12. So the student افتكر إن كل ما denominator أو the larger denominator means the larger fraction، وهو ده الحاجة اللي هو عملها غلط. يبقى هنقول هنا he said that the larger denominator means the larger fraction. ودي الحاجة الفريند بتاعنا عملها غلط. طيب why؟ هي ليه غلط؟ عشان because more pieces ده معناه إن الفاليو بتاع الفراكشن becomes smaller. In the second column, as you see, we will write the incorrect answer which the student make. تعالوا نشوف بقى let's solve it in the third one. In the third column, we will write the answer. طيب 3/8 is the larger fraction, right? يبقى هنكتب هنا 3/8 is the larger fraction. ده معناه إن 3/8 is closer to 1. هكتب 3/8 is closer to 1 because it is the larger fraction. And now you can use what we have learned. نقدر بقى نستخدم كل اللي احنا اتعلمناه في previous lesson and solve this problem using benchmark fractions and equivalent fractions. وكمان ممكن نستخدم models like the ones we have learned before. Now we will discuss this more in our lesson today. تعالوا بقى let's think about how we can use what we studied in the previous lesson about benchmark fractions. زي ما قلنا benchmark fractions اللي هما 0 و half and 1. For example, if we need to find an equivalent fraction of half, الدينومينيتور بتاعه 12. تعالوا نشوف كده. Here I want to find this is the half. عايزة find equivalent fraction للhalf ويكون الدينومينيتور بتاعه 12. أو أسأل نفسي هو half equals what over 12? We can model this fraction using rectangle divided into two parts like you see here. And I shade one of the two rectangles. ليه؟ لأن 1 over 2 معناها one shaded part out of 2. وبعدين هنرسم another rectangle بس يكون عنده 12 parts. All of the parts 12 parts. و 6 shaded parts. تعالوا نشوف كده the second one. Here is 12 shaded parts. So I have how many parts shaded? 6 shaded parts. يبقى الفراكشن الثاني عندي 6 over 12. So the benchmark fraction will be 1 over 2 equal to 6 over 12. ده معناه ان الهاف او 1 over 2 equals 2 او equivalent ل 6 over 12. ممكن نستخدم نفس الطريقة to answer 1 over 2 equals what over 8. هنستخدم برضو الدروينج زي ما عملنا في البروبلم دي. اوكي طيب وممكن كمان نعملها بطريقة سهلة قوي. To find an equivalent fraction we can take half of the denominator. ممكن نشوف half of the denominator كام ونكتبه في denominator. يعني half ال 8 what 4. Let's see it first. Here is the half and here I have 8 parts. So half of the 8 what 4. So the fraction is 4 over 8. And this will be the equivalent fraction to the half. 1 over 2 equals to 4 over 8. And now if we went back to the problem in the access part, we can compare 3 over 12 to 3 over 8 وأنا بستخدم البنشمارك fraction half. Now if we looked carefully at 3 over 8, تعالوا كده نشوف البروبلم بتاعتنا. Here is 3 over 12 و 3 over 8. لو بصينا كويس قوي على 3 over 8 and we regrouped البنشمارك fraction اللي هي half to equivalent fraction of it اللي هي ايه 4 over 8. يعني دلوقتي عايزه equivalent fraction للهاف ولازم الدينومينيتور بتاعها يبقى 8. So I found in 4 over 8 equivalent للهاف. Right? اوكي طيب لو بصينا ل 3 over 8 and compare it ل 4 over 8. 3 over 8 compare it ل 4 over 8. هنلاحظ ايه؟ هنلاحظ ان 3 over 8 is very close to 4 over 8. ده معناه 3 over 8 is very close to half. Right? طيب تعالوا نشوف الفراكشن الثانية 3 over 12. 3 over 12 أنا عايزة fraction equivalent للهاف وفي نفس الوقت الدينومينيتور بتاعها يبقى 12. So I find it is 6 over 12. When I compare 3 over 12 and 6 over 12 هلاقي ان it is not very close to 6 over 12. ده معناه ان 3 over 12 مش قريبة قوي من الهاف. So what we conclude that 3 over 8 is closer to half and that's why 3 over 8 bigger than 3 over 12. And now as the two fractions, as we see, two fractions هنلاقيهم less than half. Okay, so when they are less than half يبقى أكيد less than 1. And now this is the same answer we had using the first strategy. لما استخدمنا ال first strategy برضو عرفنا إن 3 over 8 bigger than 3 over 12. And now let's practice more in comparing fractions using benchmark fractions in the build part page 41. تعالوا كده نشوف page 41. Here in the activity we use benchmark in this activity. Minna make, here is build. He told me that Minna made 2 cakes because she had so many friends. كانت عازمة الفريندز بتوعها for her birthday party. يبقى هي عملت 2 cakes of the same size. Her mom cut 1 cake. مامتها قطعت ال first cake into 10 pieces. يعني الكيك دي قطعتها 10 pieces و second one قطعتها 6 pieces. Okay, so now 5 over 10 of 1 cake was eaten. يعني الكيك دي تاكل منها 5 over 10. And the other one 5 over 6 eaten from the second one. محتاجين هنا نحدد which one of the cake had been more eaten by her friend. يعني أنه كيك اتاكل منها أكتر. The first one ولا the second one. Using the benchmark fractions, don't forget. Okay? طيب عشان نحل البروبلم دي محتاجين نعمل comparing between ال 5 over 10 وال 5 over 6. Right? And identify ومحتاجين نحدد the larger fraction. Okay? And now let's compare the two fractions using the benchmark fraction like what? Like for example half. Look at the fraction 5 over 10. طب أنا متأكدة إن أنتوا كلكم لاحظتوا إن ال 5 half the 10 right؟ Okay, so 5 over 10 equals what? Yes, 5 over 10 equals 2 half. We need now to write a fraction equivalent to half with 6 in the denominator. يعني أنا عايزة هنا half، عايزة ألاقي equivalent fraction والدومينيتور بتاعها 6. ليه؟ عشان أعمل comparing to 5 over 6 which is 3 over 6. احنا عارفين إن ال half equals 3 over 6 right؟ So if we look 5 over 6 compare it with 3 over 6, so 5 over 6 bigger than 3 over 6 right? Okay, so which one is greater أو أنه كيك اتاكل منها أكتر؟ Of course the cake which is divided into 6 pieces هي اللي اتاكل منها أكتر right? And now let's move to the second part of build on page 41. Here I have a game called Spin to Win. I will choose fractions through the spinner. هنلاقي spinner, I will spin the spinner, هيطلع لي fraction, and I will repeat it once more وهيطلع لي another fraction. Then I will compare these two fractions using the benchmark fraction. تعالوا كده نشوف مع بعض. So here's the spinner. I will spin it like this, and I will see the first fraction. So the first fraction is 4 over 6. Let's spin the spinner once more. The second fraction will be, let's see. Look, the second fraction is 1 over 8. تعالوا كده نكتب ال two fractions عشان نعمل comparing between them. Okay, now let's write the two fractions here in the table. Okay, and here the first fraction, can you remember the first fraction is? Yes, I will write it here, 4 over 6. The second one is 1 over 8. طيب دلوقتي أنا عايزة أعمل comparing between these two fractions using the benchmark fraction اللي هي half. So I will write half here and I will write half here. Okay? So which one is equal or which fraction is bigger than the other? طيب تعالوا نشوف كده 4 over 6. 4 over 6 عشان أعمل comparing to the half لازم أشوف equivalent fraction للhalf الدينومينيتور بتاعها 6. Like what? Like 3 over 6. طب دلوقتي أنا أقدر أعرف 4 over 6 and 3 over 6. 4 over 6 greater than half. Right? 4 over 6 greater than half. تعالوا نشوف ال 8. طيب أنا عايزة أشوف equivalent fraction للhalf الدينومينيتور بتاعه 8. زي إيه؟ زي 4 over 8. So 1 over 8 is greater than ولا smaller than 4 over 8. 1 over 8 smaller than 4 over 8. ده معناه إن 1 over 8 smaller than half. يبقى this is smaller than half and this is bigger than half. Right? طيب تقدروا تقولوا لي الساين اللي هحطها هنا which is bigger than or smaller than or equal. So 4 over 6 bigger than half, 1 over 8 smaller than half. That means in 4 over 6 greater than 1 over 8. And now let's practice comparing fractions using the benchmark fractions and solve the story problems on page 42. تعالوا كده نشوف page 42 with each other. Here in this problem, problem number 2, as you see, مريم and Jana each had identical sandwiches. عندهم sandwiches زي بعض بالظبط. مريم cut her sandwich قسمت الساندويتش بتاعها ل 12 pieces وأكلت 4 pieces. وجنى cuts hers into 6 pieces وأكلت منهم 3 pieces. عايز أعرف who أو which one of them ate more. And how do you know؟ وهتعرفوا إزاي؟ From the problem we knew that من البروبلم بتاعتنا عرفنا إن مريم أكلت 4 over 12 right؟ وجنى أكلت 3 over 6. This is Mariam and this is Jana. طيب to compare these fractions I will use the benchmark fraction which is half. We will compare that Mariam ate 4 over 12 لhalf. عايزة أقارن 4 over 12 بالhalf. So what should I do؟ أنا عندي half هنا عايزة أشوف equivalent fraction to it والdenominator بتاعها يبقى 12 which is 6 over 12. ليه 6 over 12؟ عشان ال 6 half ده 12. So مريم ate less than half. مريم أكلت 4 over 12 which is less than half. Right؟ طيب تعالوا نشوف بقى جنى أكلت 3 over 6. I want to compare this number with half. The same way أنا عندي half عايزة أشوف equivalent fraction with denominator 6. So the fraction is 3 over 6. Right? Which is exactly what Jana eat. يبقى Jana eat half of her sandwich. Right? طب ده معناه إيه؟ ده معناه إن Jana eat more than مريم. يعني 3 over 6 greater than 4 over 12. And now in problem number 4, let's move to problem number 4 here. As you see, here Mazen and Aiz each had a candy bar. كل واحد عنده candy bar بتاعه. And each one ate. كل واحد فيهم أكل half of the bar. بس هو بيقول لي إن مازن ate more candy than Aiz. طب ده هيحصل إزاي؟ I will give you time to think about the answer and we can use ممكن على فكرة تستخدموا model عشان to explain your thinking. And now after you have finished أنا متأكدة إن أنتوا كلكم لاحظتوا إن مازن's candy bar was larger than Aiz's candy bar. To be sure of this answer, we can draw two models. ممكن نرسم two models of the bar. One model larger than the second one. يعني ممكن أرسم for example model like this وأقسمه half. ممكن أرسم model like this smaller and divide it into half. Okay, now as you see here, one model is larger than the other one. عشان كده half Mazen's candy bar will be larger than Aiz's candy bar. This is Aiz and this is Mazen. And that's why الhalf بتاع Mazen greater than الhalf بتاع Aiz. And now please don't forget that when comparing لما نيجي نعمل comparing between two fractions لازم الwhole يبقى the same in both fractions. And now in Unit 9 تعلمنا a lot about fractions and how to model them on a number line. وكمان عرفنا how to add and subtract fractions. We have learned about equivalent fractions and comparing the fractions using the benchmark fractions. ممكن you can reflect all اللي احنا اتعلمناه ده all your learning in this unit under Connect page 43. Here is the Connect part and you can use على فكرة words وممكن نستخدم كمان numbers أو pictures to answer the question. Question بيقول لي إيه؟ Why are benchmark fractions؟ ليه benchmark fractions مهمة جدا إن احنا نستخدمها في problem solving and in comparing fractions. What are you going to write will show اللي انتوا هتكتبوه ده هيوريكوا قد إيه انتوا فهمتوا اللي احنا اتعلمناه. And now we have reached the practice part and check your understanding parts. You can access these parts using the code shown here or at the beginning of the lesson. And now let's solve it on the board. Okay, and here in problem number 2, we need to order محتاجين نرتب الفراكشنز 1 over 4 و 9 over 9 and 5 over 6. 1 over 4, 9 over 9 and 5 over 6. We want to order these fractions. طيب, if we compare the first fraction quarter to the benchmark fraction اللي هي half, we'll find in the quarter is a known benchmark fraction. وكمان we can use it a lot in many things. So we can compare it to the half. طيب, كلنا عارفين ان الكوارتر is smaller than half, right? يبقى الكوارتر smaller than half. Okay. Now, what about 9 over 9? كلنا عارفين ان 9 over 9 is equal to the benchmark fraction اللي هي 1. يبقى 9 over 9 equals to 1, right? Okay. تعالوا نشوف the third one. And now if you compare the third fraction اللي هي 5 over 6 to half, which is equivalent to 3 over 6. يبقى أنا عندي هنا 5 over 6 عايزة أعملها comparing with half. طيب الهاف أنا عايزة أشوف fraction equivalent ليها الدينومينيتور بتاعها 6. So I will write 3 over 6. when you compare 5 over 6 and 3 over 6 هنلاقي إن طبعًا 5 over 6 greater than 3 over 6 يعني 5 over 6 greater than half, right? So when I need to order these three fractions, what should I do? Yes, the order I will order them from the greatest to the least one. يبقى هبدأ بإيه؟ أكيد هبدأ ب 9 over 9 which represents 1. And then what should I write? I will write 5 over 6 because 5 over 6 greater than half. And the least one is what? Is 1 over 4 because 1 over 4 is less than half. And this is my answer of this problem. And now after we have finished, this is the end of our lesson today, and we have learned اتعلمنا النهارده how to compare fractions to the benchmark fractions which are 0 وhalf and 1. وكمان now we have reached the end of our lesson, which is also the last lesson in concept 2 in unit 9. In this concept عرفنا ازاي او معنى equivalent fractions and how to compare fractions with like denominators and numerators, and how to compare the fractions to benchmark fractions. Your teachers can help you to access the problem in the digital copy of your math textbook on the Egyptian Knowledge Bank to check your understanding of the lessons in this concept and expand your skills. Thank you so much for your watching, and see you later on lessons in concept 3.